Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter or email tiptoday@tippfm.com.
Welcome back to the show. Now, Ballina Killaloe Community and Family Resource Centre is set to mark International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia today. It began as an awareness initiative back in 2004 and it's now held on May 17th each year as a reminder of the prejudice and discrimination which is shown to lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender people. I'm joined on the line now by Adam Long, who's one of the organisers of this event. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Alison.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Adam, could you tell us, first of all, what prompted you to start this initially, running since 2004, so well established at this stage?
Absolutely. As you outlined there in your introduction, Alison, it has been running since 2004 and it started in the United States and it's now grown. It's become a truly global event and Ireland is one of those countries that now partakes in marking Idaho. So in the first instance here in Killaloe, in Ballina Killaloe, we wanted to demonstrate in a very, I suppose, proactive and tangible way that that the LGBT community is supported, that it is part of the broader community here, and I think marking this particular day allows us to do that. So that's very important. But also, I think because it is an international event as well, we want to remind people that as much as we've made much progress here in Ireland in recent years, certainly on the legal and the legislative front, that broader anti-LGBT prejudice and discrimination remains a real problem in many parts of the world. And in fact, as Ireland and some countries in the West, let's say, have kind of, have moved on and have very much kind of are going in the right direction, there's actually been almost a backlash in other parts of the world. And the global... Well, I certainly think that's used by anti-LGBT forces in certain parts of the world to say that this is a Western phenomenon. This is kind of imposing a kind of a Western way of life, which of course is entirely incorrect. I mean, gay and lesbian people have existed, since the dawn of time, and we exist all around the world. And that's why I think the international piece is very important, that we do say that as much as we make progress in Ireland, that this is actually part of a globe. There's a broader kind of solidarity piece that we mustn't forget either.
And have you seen a change in attitude from when you first started in 2004 to now? I mean, we think of 2004 as being not that long ago and pretty modern, but what was the attitude when Idaho was first proposed and set up?
Well, I suppose just to give a little bit of context, again, it would have started in the United States, and it's quite instructive, really, that it started in 2004, because that was the year in the US when there was all these anti-gay marriage amendments were being passed in various states, and that would have been kind of a deliberate political strategy at the time in that country. Here in Ireland, actually, it was the year when, for the first time in legislation, a ban on same-sex marriage was introduced through what is known as the Civil Registration Act. Now, thankfully, in both countries, things have changed. Again, on the legal front, we had our own marriage equality referendum in 2015, and I think that really did kind of, there was huge symbolic value to that. It did kind of demonstrate to the community, that LGBT people were full and equal citizens. So we've certainly kind of come a long way over that time. There's no question about that in most parts of the world. But, again, I would point to other countries. I mean, only as recently as yesterday, I was reading that in Lebanon, for example, there was kind of an organic kind of, movement, around Pride. I know that's been shut down and the organiser has been arrested. And, so people are still very much being targeted for their sexual orientation and their gender identity. And in fact, the United Nations, who are very much supportive of Idaho, their former Secretary General, he made a very impassioned plea, really, and he said that, anti-LGBT attitudes really can never be justified, and people will put forward various cultural or religious or whatever reasons for discriminating against people, but that really it's not acceptable. That it's about equality, and Ireland, I think, has kind of where we have the opportunity to lead the way in that respect, not just here at home, but on a more global level, in fact.
Absolutely, but just to focus maybe on Ireland as well, do you find or do you hear from people who still experience homophobia in Ireland today?
Absolutely, Alison. And that's what I think is very important, that, we very much make the point that there isn't any room for complacency. There was the most recent certainly the most comprehensive research of LGBT experiences and attitudes and opinions was the Burning Issues 2 survey, which was conducted in 2016. And that revealed that the number one issue for LGBT people in Ireland is hate crime. So whereas we have legal equality by and large, there's still a little bit of work to do there, but we've certainly come a long way. And there is what LGBT people fear. There's still that abuse. There's still that harassment that's happening on the ground, and it's aggravated by the fact that we actually don't have in Ireland, almost uniquely, certainly in Europe, but almost uniquely in the Western world, that there isn't hate crime legislation. So people aren't protected. There isn't that deterrent, if you like, to targeting people for what's an innate characteristic, really. So absolutely, people. I mean, it's kind of a two-pronged message, really, Alison. We do want to stress that society in general has really moved on in leaps and bounds. And again, the referendum was a very tangible example of that. But no, certainly there's still a fear of people walking down the streets. There's still a fear of people being visible. And if I could just maybe very briefly give you some statistics.
Of course.
This is it's from the LGBT Ireland report, which the HSE was involved in commissioning as well, and particularly the youth element, because the two key issues here could be hate crime and then people at school, LGBT people at school. 70% of young LGBT people, and that's 14 to 18 years of age, have considered ending their own lives due to prejudice and discrimination. LGBT youth are 4 times more likely to experience anxiety and depression than teenagers overall. I'm just looking at the figures here, 75% have encountered verbal abuse. 1 in 3 have been threatened with physical violence. And now this research is it's only in the last 2 or 3 years, so it's very recent. And the message from that really is that, particularly at a school level, I think much work needs to be done. I think that the curriculum needs to acknowledge that. Certainly in the area of sex education, we really do need to start prioritising the needs for students or LGBT students in this particular instance. So I suppose the message is there is still a lot of work to do. I think society is broadly supportive, certainly, and a day like Idaho gives us a chance to demonstrate that in a very real way.
And are people who are attacked, are they afraid to report it, and what kind of reaction do they get from, we'll say, Gardaí when they do try to report it, in your experience?
There is. We do know that there is a vast underreporting of homophobic and transphobic hate crime, and I think that there have been initiatives launched, like TENI, for example, which is a transgender group. They have been working with the Gardaí around kind of a reporting system where people can even report to a third party, and then that can be sent on to the Gardaí if necessary. So I think it's an important point to bring up, because again, it's one thing to have your right, but then to be able to to act on them and to be empowered really to act on those rights. So actually here at our event today, we're going to have a member of the Gardaí who's going to be present, who they very much wish here in Killaloe or in Ballina-Killaloe to show that they are supportive and that they do want to encourage people to come forward and to report hate crime, because it is now, as I said, that Burning Issues 2 report revealed that's the number one concern now of the community. I mean, post-marriage equality and other significant legal reforms, crimes against people who are LGBT or perceived to be LGBT, that's still a real worry in society.
OK, Adam, finally, just tell us about today's event, where and when.
Okay, so just very briefly, it's part of a broader equality and inclusion campaign that we're running here at KBFRC that will actually ultimately cover the 9 grounds of discrimination. So this is kind of the first element of that, if you like. So it's going to be 12 until 2 o'clock this afternoon. It's going to be at the community centre that's on the Killaloe side of the bridge. And we really would encourage as many people to attend as possible. It's a public awareness event as much as anything else.
OK, Adam, thank you so much for joining us this morning and telling us about it.
Thank you, Alison.
And all the best with it. Thanks, Adam. That's Adam Long there. So head along to that in Ballina-Killaloe today if you are in the area. We're back after this.
Tip FM's Tip Today with Fran Curry.
In association